Okay, the mics are live and just switched on the public station. And YouTube is muted now. We're ready to roll. And Mayor Mohovy's ready.
All right, if we're all ready, then let me call to order this regular meeting of the Bishop City Council today, June 28th, 2021 at 6:01 p.m. We will start out today with an invocation by Father John Gracie of Our Lady of Perpetual Help. And so everybody please stand for that, and then please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to be led today by Mayor Pro Tem Schwartz.
Okay. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. God, our Heavenly Father, as we approach the annual celebration of the independence of our nation, we pray that as you have guided us in the past, so you will guide us in the future. And as you have blessed us then, bless us now. May we be grateful for all you have given us, and may we wisely use the gifts you bestow upon us. May we seek your will for ourselves and for the betterment of others as we govern. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Robin, can we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Khan?
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia?
Here.
Councilmember Ellis?
He's here.
Here, trying to figure out his mute button.
Mayor Pro Tem Schwartz?
Here.
Mayor Mohovy?
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to public comment. Notice to the public, this time is set aside to receive public comment on matters not calendared on the agenda. When recognized, we request that you please state your name and address for the record, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Under California law, we are prohibited from generally discussing or taking action on items not included on the agenda. However, we may briefly respond to questions or comments from members of the public. Robin, did we have any public comment on our email address?
No public comments on our email address, and I do not see any waved hands. Jenny, can you confirm?
There are no raised hands.
Thank you.
Okay, then we will move on to our presentation. Today we have a presentation on the Tri-County Fairgrounds Poster Contest, presented today by the Eastern Sierra Tri-County Fairgrounds Chief Executive Officer, Jen McGuire. Jen, I think it comes as no surprise that the fair is one of my happiest days in the year. And so are you with us? Are you muted?
I am here. Good evening,
right.
Mr. Mayor and Council. Thanks for having us. We've just wrapped up, some really pretty big events that we're excited about. Mule Days and High School Rodeo. Junior Livestock just wrapped up. Actually, it's still live. You can still get an add-on if you haven't done that. So it closes at 7 o'clock tonight. So those kids can use a couple extra bucks here and there. If you anybody in the public has any time to spare, log on and add on. Our next big event is going to be, of course, the Tri-County Fair Labor Day weekend. We're so excited about it. It looks like we're going to be able to have a full capacity fair with a full carnival. Our Friday night entertainment is going to be Winona Judd. I'm super excited about having her here because she's going to be a great addition to our entertainment lineup. We've got our rodeo on Saturday with a George Strait tribute band after the rodeo. And then on Sunday is the local favorite, which is our Destruction Derby. And I expect the crowds to be full and be fun. So I'm really excited. One of the fun parts about the fair is revealing the theme and the poster. It's always something special and unique. And this year, our theme is Celebrate the Bounty of Our Counties. And we're looking at it a little bit different this year because I think the bounty is in the eye of the beholder. Some people, the bounty of this area could be the fishing, the hiking, the great outdoors. Some others, it could be family, friends, memories. It's whatever you feel the bounty of your area is. And I'm proud to reveal the winner of our youth poster contest, which was rolled over from 2020. And if Jenny can share our poster. This is the first time anyone's seeing the poster.
Wow.
So it's unique. It's got the fishing, it's got the water, it's got the mountains, it's got the carnival, it's got a little bit of country, because you got to have a little bit of country in Bishop. But we're excited about revealing this. This is the first time anyone's seeing it. Emma Reeves is just graduated from Bishop High School. When she drew this, she was 17. She was a junior in high school, and she was inspired by her art teacher, Miss Owens. She didn't think her art was good enough, and look what she created. So we're really excited to reveal this and get it out there and create some excitement for the fair. We have some new entertainment this year, some new fun things we're going to announce here really soon once I get the final stamp of approval on it. But we're going to start hopefully selling tickets for all the main events end of this week. Tickets will go on sale. So we're really excited about it. Some new events this year, just outside of the fair, is we have a Hot August Nights monster truck show. That's going to be a standalone show in the middle of August. And I'm working on a Fiesta del Charro event in September, end of September. So those will be some new added items to our itinerary, as well as launching the full drive-in movie series in July. So that's all I have. I just wanted to reveal the poster and give the council the first viewing of it, and we're really excited about it.
Yeah, thanks for that, and congratulations, Emma. That was a great poster. Happy to be glad to see it blown up and everywhere around the fair. Was really glad that the high school rodeo went off again. Definitely missed my corn dogs. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.
Jen, is there a way to get all of the posters kind of as collector's items? Like, can you buy them off the fair website, or I'm sorry, not the fair, but the fairgrounds website? Is there a way to, if people want to collect them? They're also great.
Yes, it will be for sale on the fair website, as well as we'll put up last year's or 2019's poster as well. It's kind of a new tradition here, is showcasing the artwork of the youth, and just have a great collection of posters. So yes, you can purchase them off the website.
Oh, great. Okay. And then this isn't about your presentation, but how are your finances recouping? Are you guys, able to recover from the 2020 losses?
We are doing well. Our doors are open. I'm still here, and those are good positive signs. Interesting enough, our RV park did very well last year, and RV and camping is where that what saved us, as well as a few other things. But RV and the drive-in, the drive-in actually did very well in selling advertising out there. Just being a little bit of creative in terms of marketing and what you can do it's kind of amazing. But yeah, we're doing okay. We got several grants, one from the City of Bishop, so we thank you for that. We got some grants through the Friends of the Fair, and the Friends of the Fair are really helping us out. So we're alive and well. We're still pinching our pennies and watching our budgets like everyone else, but it's going to be a great year for us.
Good. Great to hear that you're able to pivot, and you're going to go into this next year really strong.
Any other questions or comments from the council? Nope. Thanks again, Jen. And hopefully let's continue with the theme of pivot and growing strong as we move on to our Chamber of Commerce and Visitors Bureau update from Executive Director Tawny Thompson. Hey, Tawny. You are muted.
Gosh darn it, I thought I was all ready. Sorry about that. Good evening, Mayor and Council and everyone else that's here. Thank you again for the opportunity to let you know what we've been up to. But before that, I just want to say congrats on the poster. That is beautiful. I just really love how it encompasses not just the fair, but all of the activities that people, locals and visitors enjoy here. It's just beautiful. And I can't wait to see them hanging around town. And Jen, if there's any way that the chamber can help distribute those. We're in and out of businesses all the time, and we'd be happy to help spread those around town for you if that helps. So I'm going to start tonight with the Chamber of Commerce side of things. We recently conducted our annual election process for our board of directors. We had a really great turnout. We had 9 individuals that were willing to step up and run for a seat. Unfortunately, we couldn't elect all of them. They're all really qualified folks, but there were 9 candidates to fill the seats. The newly elected and appointed board members will be Kendra Atlework, representing Sierra Maps and Bishop Storage, Gayla Wolf, the honeybee photographer, Manny Astorga of Astorga's Restaurant, and Holly Mullenix of Bishop Twin Theater. And so they'll be joining. We also have Devin Bakta, who is our lodging appointed rep, representing Cielo and Days Inn. And so they'll be joining our existing board members, Joe Cabral, Sarah Freund, Cheryl Underhill, Robin Bolser, Tara Frank, Karina Corpy, John Louth, Neeral Munshaw, and Scott Piercy. And our president for this year is Debbie Yerkes of Alex Printing. So it's a really well-rounded group of folks representing lots of different industries and bring lots of talents to our board. So very excited to work with them. Really also excited to announce our first post-pandemic in-person get together for the Chamber of Commerce. We're going to hold a mixer outdoors at Laws Railroad Museum on Thursday, July 8th from 5 to 7 p.m. So everyone's invited. It's open to all members and guests. If anybody doesn't remember what a mixer is, we have complimentary appetizers, and then there's no host beverages. And it's just really a way to connect with the community, fellow business members, and community leaders. So we're really excited about that. And our one of our major fundraisers that we had to skip last year, we're thrilled to be bringing back. On your written report, I have it that it was August 31st, but it's actually July 31st. And that is the Golf Fun Day. It's actually the 8th time we've done this. And it's not a typical golf tournament. Every hole is a different skills challenge. So some of it's just putting or some of it's just chipping. It's really designed for people that want to get out and have just a fun, relaxed day on the golf course. Maybe learn some skills, maybe not, maybe just ride in the cart and enjoy the day out with friends. So it's a good fundraiser for us. We're working on getting hole sponsors, prize donors, and folks to sign up for that. $50 a person includes golf, cart, and the dinner and raffle entry. So it's a good deal and a lot of fun. Does anybody have any questions about Chamber of Commerce, or switch over to the Visitors Bureau?
Oh, congratulations to the new board members, for sure.
Yeah, really grateful for people. It's all volunteer, and we're really grateful to the group that steps up to help. So Visitors Bureau side of things, Jen touched on it a little bit. The high school rodeo state finals championship was very successful. There were a total of 310 contestants this year, which is the highest number of contestants that we've ever had. Most of them brought family and friends with them that like to enjoy a bit of vacation in between the rodeo action. So I'm sure that you saw them out and about downtown. In addition to the rodeo, there's a ton that goes on. There's meetings, there's dances, there's scholarship interviews and speech contests. And it really kept the fairground staff as well as the chamber staff and volunteers quite busy tending to all of their needs. But I would say that everybody did a really great job. The welcome dinner was a little different this year due to the pandemic restrictions that were still in place. We worked with Holy Smoke. They catered it, and it was grab and go style. So people came into the auditorium and grabbed their food and then went outside and sat on picnic tables. The Holy Smoke did a great job, but we really hope to go back to the community prepared deep pit, everybody in one place all at one time for next year. The locals really love the high school rodeo. It's evident by the co-sponsorships, by the level of volunteerism. and also by rodeo attendance. Lots of people come out. They don't necessarily know the kids that are competing, but they come out to support them and cheer them on. So it was really well attended. It's also really good for our local economy. So a rough estimate is that it generates about $970,000 in positive fiscal impact for the city businesses, and then about 30,000 in TOT for the city. So it's not just fun; it's also fun with purpose. So we're happy, and I believe our contract with them right now goes through next year, but I believe that we're going to be getting an extension on that because we lost out for 2020. So the details of that are still to be worked out. And some of you guys came and helped out with serving beverages at the welcome dinner, and some of you contributed prizes. So thanks all to you guys that helped out with that. Hotel occupancy for, we've been talking about this for the last several months, definitely trending in the right direction. For April, we actually came real close to a tie with 2019 pre-pandemic numbers. And as you can see by looking at the chart, our May occupancy was 70.2%, which is above our pre-pandemic 2019 May, which was the highest May we'd had on record. So knock on wood, keep our fingers crossed. Things are definitely trending in a really good direction. Had a very interesting Zoom webinar today with the folks from Visit California, and not every destination in California is doing as well as we are doing, especially some of those places that are very dependent on, say, convention type tourism business. That's a real slow sector to come back. It's going to take a while. But the other thing is the places that are really rely on a lot of international travel. Obviously, that hasn't come back yet. And normally this time of year, we have up to about 30% international travel. So the fact that we've met our 2019 numbers without the international is very, very good. I didn't brag when I was on the Visit California webinar. I didn't think that would be very nice. But anyway, things are going well. The visitor center's open, full capacity. Lots and lots of folks are here just in spite of the heat. We've been staying open a little later in the evenings because people tend to be out and about at, later in the evenings. Middle of the day is kind of a little bit slow, but that's okay. So do you have any questions for me?
No, I mean, none for me. That seems great. I mean, I'm definitely glad to see we're rebounding with our guests coming into town. And of course, with that, we must make sure that they're good house guests that we would want to invite back.
And you know what, I should have mentioned, we worked with a large group of stakeholders to develop some materials that are called Camp Like a Pro. And it's educational flyers, rack cards, there's some stickers, there's some social media and some blog posts all around trying to educate people, because we believe that most people want to do the right thing. But some people, if it's their first experience in the outdoors, they just don't know, So we're really trying to encourage them to be pro campers and take a positive approach to it. We just received a supply of the materials, and our staff will be out distributing those to several local businesses and try to, get them out into the hands. So Karen, people will be bringing some to your shop and some of the others that do, have a clientele that tend to be some of the outdoor campers and recreationalists. So we're trying to teach them to do the right thing, encourage them.
Thanks, and thanks for all you do.
I attended today's presentation from Visit California. Very informative, very interesting what they're saying about traveling within California, that we're not seeing the international business travel yet. And once we see that, the tourism industry, it's half of recovery. It was very interesting to see all that information.
And the state is, they allocated millions and millions of dollars, and they have different specific targets. Not a lot of focus on rural areas right now, but they're really trying to help the more urban, the convention center areas. They have a campaign. They started a campaign a while ago that was called Let's Go There. And now they have a new campaign that's Let's Meet There, to actually try to get more people to think about meetings, in-person meetings and things like that again. But yeah, it was very, very interesting to see how Visit California is really very, very strategic. And they're investing heavily in the tourism, the state tourism industry. You know, has the real, we're going to be the leaders in bringing the economy, you know, back to full throttle. So they're taking it very seriously and very strategic. And it's good to know that they work with the local DMOs like us to partner on several of the initiatives. So
Very smart from them that they are marketing in North America, Mexico, the US, and Canada, and that they are advertising in other languages, including Spanish. And they have things already prepared in Spanish, so it's very smart. Not only for international travel, but for also within the state and from all over the US for the Spanish-speaking community.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks again, Tani.
thanks, guys.
We'll see you around. Okay, moving on to department reports. We'll start off today with Fire Chief Joe Dell.
Good morning, Mayor, Council. How are we doing tonight, and how's my audio?
No, doing well. Your audio's good.
No squelching or squealing tonight?
No, I guess maybe it works better in hot temperatures.
Good. So the fire department is able to help our partners out down south. Last week, we were deployed immediate need to the Inyo Creek fire out of the Whitney portals. So Bishop, Big Pine, Independence, Lone Pine, all gathered up as a task force and went down in the middle of the night, did some really great work, helped stop the fire spread towards the homes down the creek. Really proud of the whole team that was down there. The engines were released on Tuesday, and the water tenders kind of stayed for a few more days until they got more resources into the area. The portals are still closed. They're seeing some lightning down there. And then they're also have some, there's really no good escape routes. So they're not able to get people up in there. And so they don't want visitors or anything out there, and they're rerouting the hikers. So we're expecting a lot of lightning today and tomorrow. Lightning activity level is 6, red flag warning. We're seeing quite a bit of lightning right now in Ravenna. In fact, I'll be surprised if I'll be able to stay for the whole meeting. I'm pretty sure we'll get called out there. However, it sounds like there's some rain with that, which wasn't predicted, so that's a good thing. Fireworks stands are open as of today, so we'll start to see Safe and Sane fireworks being sold by the local nonprofits. So there's a couple churches and Little League and some others. So support the Safe and Sane fireworks, and remember that you can't use any fireworks on public lands or DWP, federal, BLM, Forest Service, state lands. So you have to use them on private property. Getting ready for our big 4th of July fireworks show in the park. I think I won't steal all the thunder from Dan. I think he's got a whole rundown of what's going on. But we're gearing up to have a great show in the back of the park on Sunday evening. It'll happen a little bit after 9 p.m. after the sun sets. And then also you might see a new face around the fire department. We partnered with the Bishop Tribe and TANF, and we have a young man named Uriah Benally who's been helping us out. He'll be with us all summer on a work program that the tribe is sponsoring, and he's been doing some great work with myself and Pat, and we're excited to have him around the fire station. Any questions?
No questions. Definitely thank all the volunteers, because this will take every opportunity. Well, we should take every opportunity to thank them, especially now, because it's going to be bad. So. Yeah,
we're gearing up for a pretty busy season, pretty dry fuel. So hopefully we see some rain. We're expected some monsoons here this week after the dry lightning, so I'm hoping that it'll bring some moisture for us.
Any other questions, comments? Nope. Thanks, Joe. Then we'll move on to Acting Police Chief Josh Ellsworth. Hey, Josh.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just a couple things. I'm going to kind of echo a lot of Joe's report. The police department assisted with the fire down Lone Pine on the 18th. Myself and a few officers went down to help with evacuations and some security and give them a hand in initial kickoff of that. And then our staff was released. We stayed in contact with the Sheriff's Department over the following days. However, there was no deployment from the police department for any assistance down there. The 4th of July, like Joe and Dan, we're all working on our parts of this. The police department's wrapping up its final touches of the operational plan, and it's coming together. So we're excited, but it's going to be busy. And there's been a local person in town who is from LA County. He's given a lot of the community members and the police department a lot of our time. Our staff was able to work with his probation officer in LA County to get a warrant issued. And when it was active this morning, our staff went out and located him. He was transported to Inyo County Jail, and LA County will be responding to pick him up in the next few days and take him back home. So that should help a lot. I'm pretty sure everybody has seen this person around town, so it'll be nice to have less contact with them. So that's all I have, unless council has any questions.
That was a diplomatic way to put things. No, definitely thank all the officers for helping out down in Lone Pine, because yeah, we're in for it these years.
It's going to be a busy summer, I have a feeling. So.
Any other comments, questions from the council? Nope. Thanks so much, Josh.
Thank you.
Moving right along to Public Works Director, Desmond Deshawn.
Good evening, Mayor Mohove and council members. So just a few items to update you on. The CTC met last week, the California Transportation Commission, and officially funded the East Line Street bridge replacement project, at least for the preliminary design and engineering. So I'll release a RFP in the next few days, and then hope to have a selection process and everything done and start work probably early October. So great news there. The BAWA, our Bishop Area Wastewater Authority, had a special board meeting last week and approved the fiscal year 21-22 budget with some big projects in there. Hopefully they come to fruition in this year. The Owens Valley Groundwater Authority meeting that should be happening next week is being postponed till probably the 22nd. Most of the Mono County board members have a conflicting meeting on that day. So, and we have an important meeting. We're actually going to start talking about the management plan with the Groundwater Sustainability Act. Next, at the next council meeting, Caltrans will be presenting the Bishop Pavement Program environmental document that it'll be released on July 1. They're hoping. It's still at the SHPO office right now. But as soon as I get it, I will send it out to everybody, because when they present at the July 12th meeting, that'll only leave us 2 weeks to comment to it. So I'd like to get it to everybody as soon as we can and let you guys all have at it and make any comments we want. And lastly, I just want to make a big thank you out to the Public Works crew. We had a sewer line issue, emergency repair. It took a couple of nights to do work when the flows were very low in the pipe, and the guys did a great job fixing it. Got us through a lot of trouble. It could have turned into a big mess, and it did not. Thanks. And so I just want to thank all the guys on the crew and the Eastern Sierra Community Service District. They also brought their truck out and assisted on the last night we were out there. Oh, and I forgot one last thing. I will be absent at the next meeting. I will try to attend by Zoom. I'll be on vacation with my family and my children and their grandchildren, our grandchildren. something that, yeah, we've been planning for a long time. So I will try to be on by Zoom during the Caltrans meeting, but hopefully we'll have a chance to look at everything prior to that. And that's all I have, unless you have any questions of me.
None for me. Sounds great. You going anywhere fun for the vacation?
Yeah, we're actually going to Hawaii, Kauai
Oh, wow.
for a week. Yeah,
Is this Sue's belated birthday present?
You're right. Yeah, the Mexico trip a year and a half later.
Jim, you had a question?
Yeah, Destin, good job on the bridge. I know that we've been talking about that for what, 7, 8 years now?
At least.
Yeah, it's been a while. I saw the airport schedule starting up December 16th. The bridge isn't going to be done before that, huh? It's close, huh?
Unfortunately not. Yeah, that'll be a big part of this environmental process, is how are we going to get folks from town to the airport to, all the locations, 7-Eleven Concrete, because that bridge is very old and it's an old timber bridge. So we'll need to get in there and assess how half of it can be kept in service while we're doing it. Yeah, so you're right. This environmental process may be kind of lengthy to work through all those issues.
I don't believe there's really a go around on that, short of going down Canal Road.
Yeah, right now it's Warm Springs or Las Palita. There is a back entrance off of Y Road into the airport, but it's also, with commercial flights, it may not have enough room to use that road at all, unfortunately.
Right. Well, my faith is in you.
We will figure it out. We need that bridge.
Well, thanks again, Destin. And if there's nothing else, we'll move right along to Community Services Manager Dan McElroy.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Can you hear me okay?
We hear you loud and clear.
Excellent, because my swamp cooler is working overdrive right now, so it's a little loud. Tonight, I would like to give you an update on the 4th of July celebration for the city park. Big thanks to Joe, the volunteers, Tawny Thompson, Lynn Cooper from the Arts Council. Of course, Mr. Hess from the tribe. A lot of us have come together to put this thing together, and a big thanks to Carrie as well for doing all the insurance and everything else that's required of us to do this. So first, we will start with the big day in the park, which is basically the council's event between the skate park, and that will kick off at 12 p.m. with the watermelon ice cream and pie until we're done. The pool is open at that time from 11 to 4 p.m. for a free swim. I would like to invite the council at this time to, when we're done with our pie and ice cream, to hang out for a few minutes. We're going to go ahead and do our ribbon cutting for the playground in the back of the park for the new playground. We're excited to get that kind of checked and out of the way. With the pandemic, it was hard to get that done, but we're looking forward to getting that ribbon cutting done at about 2:30 to 2:45. Next up is in the rear of the park, our food vendors and music opens at 3 p.m. The music won't start till 4, but we'll go from 4 to 8. We'll also do a bike and scooter pageant for kids of all ages. I like that term, kids of all ages, at 5 p.m. You can go ahead and pre-register for that on our website, and that will close July 3rd at noon. But because of waivers for insurance, we need to have everyone pre-register online on sportsites.com. And then last couple things, we're going to do a watermelon eating contest sponsored by Grocery Outlet at 7 p.m. It's going to have different groups of kids of all ages as well. And what we're going to do lastly is just put a blurb out there that if anybody wants any information for what's going on, they can go to www.fourthinthepark.com. And then we'll conclude everything at the city park with the fireworks. And then, of course, we'll work with the PD to do parking control and get everybody home safe. And just a reminder that we invite everyone, if they can, to go ahead and walk to the park and try not to use too much parking. There will be some street closures, and we're just inviting people to walk with your family, enjoy a picnic, and watch the fireworks. And that includes the ball fields. You can go on the ball fields, every part of the park, and it will be visible from everywhere. Next up is getting ready for next week. We have the Little League All-Star Tournament starting on Monday with the Majors Tournament. That'll wrap up Thursday or Friday. We don't know yet, depending on winners and losers brackets. And then we'll move into Sunday, starting our Juniors Tournament, which are the older kids on Field 4. A little programming update tonight. Our swim lessons are full. We've begun gymnastics camp this week. Our City League Softball League is now in mid-season, and Waylon is doing a great job. And last up, we're just looking at our 21-22 budget and starting to get some quotes and everything to go ahead and move forward with purchases that the council has approved once you approve the budget tonight. So just doing a little bit of homework. And that's all I have, unless you guys have any questions.
That's it?
That's it.
Oh.
Pretty.
No, thanks so much, Dan. I mean, we're really looking forward to the festivities, and to remind everybody out there, when you're going to look at all the details of all the amazing stuff that's happening on the 4th, it's fourthinthepark.com with the letter or with the number 4 to begin it. Don't spell it out FOURTH. It's the letter 4TH.
Hey, Dan, on this watermelon contest for kids of all ages, is like 53 like in that range? Because that sounds like way fun.
We're going to have ages 6 to 8, 9 to 12, and 13 and older.
Okay, I qualify there somewhere. Thanks.
Yeah, you'll fit in. No problem.
Hey, Dan, I just wanted to say I really like that someone has moved about 4 of the picnic tables behind the pool. It's always super shady over there, and every time I've been through for the last couple of weeks, there have been people filling those 4 up. So good thinking on your part.
Well, you can thank the Parks and Rec Commission because I moved them. We had a meeting back there the other day, so it's a 2-for-1. So thank you.
Oh, and one last thing, Dan. My wife and I were driving through the park, just checking out the progress and how things are looking. And I've never seen a family of skunks. They were out on Field 3, and it looked like a little blob of black just wiggling. And all of a sudden they started moving, and there's mom and 5 things, and they just little babies, and they move and they wiggle like a snake. And off they went over to Field 4. So I did not know they did that thing, but they're pretty cool. So you have skunks over there, by the way.
They are pretty cute, and let me use this segue as a reminder of the actual law in California, as determined by Department of Fish and Wildlife, that if you trap a skunk, you have 2 options. You can either release it exactly where you caught it, or you can kill it. You may not relocate it because they carry rabies and can spread rabies to other wild populations. The more you know.
Thank you.
I chose not to do either. I just watched them.
They're cute. Just maintain your distance. Okay, thanks, Dan. Moving on to our Associate Planner, Economic Development Coordinator, Elaine Cavala.
Good evening, Council. Not a lot of items from planning this evening. We have 3 applications or items that we'll probably be considering at the Planning Commission later this month. The first is Planning Commission review and recommendation on the housing element, and then a couple of pending conditional use permit applications as well. The only other update I have at this time is that last week, Mr. Phillips and Dustin and I all went to Sterling Heights, met with the current staff, and did a tour of the facility. We went with Larry Emerson of AMACA just to see sort of what opportunities there are for potentially reusing that in the future. Really don't have much more by way of updates on that item at this time, but we'll certainly keep you posted if there's an opportunity that presents itself for us to get involved in making that putting that building into productive use again. Happy to take any questions you have this evening.
None for me. I mean, it's great that we're reaching out and trying to see what our options are with Sterling Heights, because that's definitely a loss to the community if it were to go away. Any other comments, questions? Nope. Thanks, Elaine. Then we'll move on to City Administrator Ron Phillips. Ron, are you with us tonight?
I am.
Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor Mohovy, members of the council. My daughter's driving and I'm riding, so that's why I have no video, because the signal is not real strong.
At least you're not driving.
That's right. Just wanted to report that I've been in contact with Rich Standridge today, the incoming chief of police, and he's completed the medical and psychological exams that were required by post, and we will have those results shortly. He told me that he passed, and the background check, we were told today, will be completed by early next week. So as soon as we have all those results, he plans to be on board and has a couple of options for housing at this point. And we're hoping that the background check is completed quickly so that he can move ahead. I think that's all I have. And I'll be back in the office this week for a little bit, but then I'll be gone this weekend again.
Sounds good. Any comments or questions from the council? Nope. Well, thanks, Ron, and drive safely.
Thank you.
Our next item is the consent calendar. Notice to the public, all matters under the consent calendar are considered routine by the city and will be acted on by one motion. Do we have any comments or questions on the consent calendar? I don't see any. Then I will entertain a motion.
Any public comment, Mr. Mayor?
Any public comment?
There are no public comments on our email, and I do not see any raised hands.
I will make a motion to accept the consent calendar as presented.
I'm still going to second that.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Robin, call for the vote.
Councilmember Kong,
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia,
Yes.
Councilmember Ellis,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Schwartz,
Yes.
Mayor Mohovy.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, today, next we have a public hearing in action. So public hearing, an appeal to operate a short-term rental at 336 East Pine Street, Bishop. And this is going to planning, I assume. Is that Elaine? We should promote her.
I just promoted her.
Okay. Elaine, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Good evening again, Council. As introduced, this item is for a public hearing on an appeal to operate a short-term rental at 336 East Pine Street in Bishop. This application was denied due to its inability to meet the requirements for a short-term rental, specifically the Bishop Municipal Code's requirement for residential and short-term parking. The Bishop Municipal Code requires 2 parking spaces for each residential unit. And it's starting to pour. 2 parking spaces for each residential unit And then the short-term rental ordinance requires adequate on-site parking to accommodate lodgers. On-street parking does not count towards this requirement. The property located at 336 East Pine Street has 3 units on site. There are 2 studio units and 1 2-bedroom unit. For these 3 units, there are 4 parking spaces currently. It has been staff's interpretation of these ordinances in the past that a short-term rental must provide adequate long-term parking for the units on site, which would be 2 parking spaces for each unit, and in addition, provide adequate parking spaces for a short-term rental permit, which would require 6 parking spaces at this site. The intent of this interpretation in the code is to reduce the externalities of a quasi-commercial use in residential areas on neighbors, specifically parking impacts to surrounding properties by using on-street parking. This interpretation is reinforced by Bishop Municipal Code 7.76.060, which governs when consistence is required by previous non-conforming uses, which is what this property is. That section of the Bishop Municipal Code reads that all the provisions for off-street parking shall apply at the time of erection of any main building and shall be complied with when an existing building is altered or enlarged by the addition of dwelling units or guest rooms, or where a commercial use is intensified by the addition of floor space, seating capacity, seats for at least that portion of the facilities that are added. Because a short-term rental operating permit is a special use and is not an entitlement in the residential zone, staff has interpreted that the allowance of the special use would require that the parking come into consistence with the existing code. In addition, the short-term rental ordinance allows for the planning director and the city council to place additional conditions on a short-term rental operating permit, and that can include the provision of adequate parking. Staff has not processed the application at this time, specifically the 30-day noticing period for surrounding properties. That is due to the applicant's inability to provide the required on-site parking when the application was submitted. If the city council determines to overturn the planning director's denial of the permit, the neighbors will be noticed at that time. At this time, staff is recommending the city council hold a public hearing on the appeal to operate a short-term rental without adequate on-site parking provided for the dwelling unit and the short-term rental as required by the Bishop Municipal Code. I believe that the applicant has joined us on the Zoom call if you have questions for her. But this concludes my overview of this item. I'm happy to take any questions you have. Thank you.
Okay, so at this point in the agenda, we are just opening a public hearing. So I will now open the public hearing. Do we have any comments from the public?
Mr. Mayor, prior to public comment, you can do it however you want. Typically, once staff has given their presentation, if you'd like to bring the applicant in for the alternate presentation and then open it up, or you can do it however you want to do it.
Sure. We have the applicant here. Would the applicant like to speak?
Jenny, could you promote, please?
She is promoted. I see that she's promoted.
I've asked her to unmute.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, this is Laura Gleason, the applicant.
Okay. Howdy, the floor is yours.
So the way I interpret the ordinance is it says that the subject property that is going to be used as a vacation rental needs to provide adequate parking for the vacation rental. I understand what they are saying as far as if I enlarge the building or if I change from commercial use, which I am not doing any of those things. Everything is remaining exactly the same. I have 2 studios in the front. I occupy one as my personal residence, and the other one is rented long-term. Those are both 450 square feet per unit. 1 parking space is provided for those 2 units each. They do not have a bedroom. They're just a 1-unit room with a kitchen and a bathroom. And so everything that I could find and read in the current short-term rental ordinance doesn't say anything about having to upgrade parking for any other units on the property that are not being used as a short-term rental. And I do have 2 parking spaces which are adequate for the 2-bedroom that I am seeking the short-term rental license for.
So just a clarification, there are 2 units that are studios, one of which is rented long-term. What do you mean? Can you, I'm not a realtor. Can you describe what you mean by that?
Oh, so I have a lease for this. It's one of the new doctors that are working at the Valley Clinic, the new Valley Clinic, and she has leased the unit. And so she will be here, you know, at this point, we don't know how long, but she's already been here. Well, she has a lease through April, but through August, but it sounds like she's going to be here long-term, even longer than August, probably, you know, maybe a year. And
the
so
other,
that one,
and the other studio is the one you're saying is your primary residence?
yes. And those are 2 off-street parking that face Pine Street, and the 2-bedroom, 2 parking spaces are accessed off the alley between Pine and May.
So which is the one that's listed on VRBO as the quaint, cozy downtown cottage?
That is the one that the doctor is occupying.
The one that you have a long-term lease on already?
Correct.
Okay.
And long-term to me is over 30 days, as I understand it to be. Anything under 30 days is short-term.
Yes, that's correct. Okay. I will now open the public hearing. Do we have any comments from the public?
I do not see any public comments on our public comment email, and I do not see any raised hands. Jenny, can you confirm?
There are no raised hands.
Okay, then do I need a motion to close the public hearing, Dean?
You don't. You could call for it, but it's not legally required. Thanks.
Okay, then I guess at this point I will close the public hearing and we will move on to action. 10B, action. Appeal to operate short-term rental at 336 East Pine Street, Bishop. Elaine, did we have anything else did you have anything else to add?
I do have something further to add this evening. Thank you.
Sure.
So this is the second appeal that the city has processed of a planning commission, the planning director's decision to deny the original application. And so as we were reviewing the appeal process and in reviewing areas of interpretation within the existing ordinance, staff believes that there is opportunities to refine the ordinance to provide clarity to not just parking, but some of the other items that are included within the ordinance currently. So with that, staff would recommend that the city council uphold the planning director's decision to deny the short-term rental application. And the council may also direct staff to return with a modified ordinance clarifying on-site parking requirements for short-term rentals, the appeal process for the planning director decisions as it relates to short-term rentals, and other elements of the short-term rental ordinance as written. However, any such direction would stand apart from a required decision on the appeal and the facts presented therein. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that, Elaine. I mean, I guess I'm actually kind of glad that this came up on our agenda because it did give me an opportunity to really dive into the old ordinance, or to the ordinance that was passed, since it predated my time, but it definitely It was around when Jim and Karen were there. And it seemed really clear that we were trying to balance our extremely hard housing shortage that we have with allowing people to have entrepreneurial spirit and help with some of their living expenses. But I mean, we can't deny that we do have a housing shortage, and that is why our short-term rental ordinance is so restrictive. As we all know, we, the city, can't build housing because of budget and land constraints. So the one thing we can do is make sure our housing inventory isn't consumed by short-term rentals and thus displacing long-term residents. We do have on order about less than 1,000 units in town. So every single one of them counts, in my opinion, especially when it's a 2-bedroom that could house the young professionals that we want to keep in the town. But if there's one thing that this research of mine highlighted is that there are many loopholes in their ordinances. There was a loophole that was mentioned in the appellant's letter, but the most glaring of which, in my mind, has to do with the proof of primary residence. The current applicant, from all intents and purposes, does not seem to live in the area, already has a short-term rental in the county, which also requires that it be your primary residence, and is self-proclaimed real estate local expert in a different place. And this application was not flagged on either of those things. And that tells me that we definitely need to beef it up a little bit because it seems that the current requirement of primary residence is too lenient. So Elaine, I would echo that, and I'd like the staff to bring back to us in the future, something to actually address, give us more teeth with regard to the proof of primary residence. But having said that, what is at hand today is an issue of parking. And we all know how parking is especially hard in this town. And we hear that from a lot of people. When you guys were deliberating this ordinance, that was one of the big complaints, the chief complaints that residents of the community had. And especially in the location where this residence is, it's right across from Sterling Heights, which already has limited parking out in front. And they're really, I mean, I've seen many short-term rentals in my area, and rarely does somebody only come with one car. And especially when you have a couple of other people living there, and especially when those spaces are pretty small. So I don't know, I mean, what do you guys on the council think on the issue of parking?
Well, oh, go ahead, Karen. No, go ahead. I was reflecting on the previous short-term rental that came before us due to parking requirements, and we approved that one. And I was wondering if that one had, like, because there wasn't adequate parking for the short-term rental, does this one, because there's 3 properties on site, require even more parking than the previous short-term rental that we approved?
So this is one of those areas where if staff were to return with modifications to the ordinance, we would probably want to be more specific with our language. Right now, the language is simply that there shall be adequate on-site parking for short-term rentals. Staff has interpreted this to mean all the required parking for the residential units on site plus 1.
Okay, and I think I remember, I should go back and look at that meeting, but I remember liking that because it was vague, because we could use it as like a case-by-case scenario in what may be adequate in one part of town, maybe inadequate in another part of town. So there is some benefit to vagueness of language, in my opinion. But then we can case by case, look at it.
And
I just wanted to put that out there.
And to be clear, Karen, the other, the prior one where the parking was the issue that you guys approved, that was in single family residential zoning. So it was R1 zoning, which is more sparse. And this is actually in multifamily zoning, which would obviously be more impacted.
Sure, no, which is why the vagueness of the language is beneficial, because it can be applied differently in different situations. Just for the parking issue.
Anyone else from the council? So I guess I'll address this in two parts. The first thing that I'd really like to say is that I really feel like, just from walking past the place several times a week, that in no way is there adequate parking there right now. And I understand Laura's position that when that building was built, it was grandfathered in. In her letter to us, it talked about the idea that that the parking would change if there was substantial adjustments to the building and revert to what is current. And right now, the 2-bedroom unit in the back that the applicant is proposing to rent is down to the studs. And so I don't see how that cannot possibly be substantial change to the building. All the walls are gone. It's just basically the frame. And so my inclination on this issue, on this one specific issue, would be to deny the appeal. As far as the issue of the ordinance itself, I wasn't around when it was created, but I do see some pretty big glaring issues. One of which, in my mind, is the 30-day thing. That in no way, 31 days or 32 days is in no way long-term rental. And there are plenty of people that I know who would be happy, who would come out for a month and stay. And the fact that this doesn't address that is a problem in my book. That we need to have much better control over what's happening. And not that I think that everything needs control, but in housing, I think it absolutely has to be this way. In addition, this is a perfect example of why we need to move forward and move hopefully faster with an enforcement officer, because there's a lot of this going around, and the idea that our city staff just doesn't have the they can only wear so many hats at one time, and they only have 24 hours in a day to make sure that this stuff is being followed. And it really comes to the heart of what we're talking about, that we need housing for our professionals who are here in town. And if we don't have that, then we're not successful as a town. So those are my two.
To your first point, Karen, in my mind, it doesn't even matter that there's a lot of modifications being done to the property. It's a different use than what it was intended for. This is why there is an application for a conditional use permit. It is a different use from what it's zoned for. It's a different use for what it's intended for. We're allowing for a commercial enterprise on this location. And so in that regard, it is complete. You don't get grandfathered in when you change the use.
Mr. Mayor, can I be heard for a second?
Sure.
Just a kind of a quick procedural point. It was just brought to my attention. I would have brought it up, but it was literally just brought to my attention that there is perhaps a conflict with Councilmember Garcia, who may live within the prohibited distance requirement from being able to hear this item. I don't think there's been any issues been run afoul. Councilmember Garcia has not participated in this discussion as of yet. Hasn't made any frowning or nodding or any other symptoms, and so or signs. So just to be on the safe side, we don't have an exact measurement of where that's at, but just to be completely on the safe side, I'm going to go ahead and ask Councilmember Garcia to recuse himself, and simply, Councilmember, if you would just click off your video and keep muted, and then we will bring you back in when we finish this item, if that's okay, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah. No, that's great.
City Council, I do have a couple things to say.
Sure.
It basically states that if I alter the size of the building, or if I change from commercial use to residential, I'm not changing any of those things. I'm just putting new siding and windows. The square footage of the building exactly remains the same. Also, I understand how you're interpreting this, but the way the ordinance is currently written, all it specifically states is adequate parking for the short-term rental. And I do have 2 parking spaces for a 2-bedroom unit separate from anything else on the property, which is adequate parking for the short-term rental. And there is nothing written in the ordinance that states that any multifamily building must also upgrade their parking on any other properties on the, buildings on the property. It's written that adequate parking for the short-term rental, and the short-term rental is the 2-bedroom, and I have adequate parking.
Well, that is your opinion on that, for sure. And we're all entitled to our own opinions. And as we've discussed, there are definitely some deficiencies in this particular, but as it stands, this is the interpretation of the city, and it's legally. Are we in any sort of legal trouble here, Dean?
Well, that's, I mean, I don't know if that's a fair question. Certainly you're not in trouble by conducting this appeal hearing. And staff is not in trouble for engaging in its own interpretations of the ordinances. When a statute such as this uses terms like adequate parking, there is really only one place to go to define what adequate parking is, which is what is the parking requirements for this zoned property in the city. I do take exception a little bit, and not exception. I just caution council with looking at the definition of adequate parking as an opportunity to make subjective decisions as to what is adequate. No good deed goes unpunished. And what this situation may call for may be a completely situation on the next one. That's the reason we have rules. Now, if council wanted to further define or further expand or further limit the 2 parking spaces per dwelling, or to include street parking, those are ordinance modifications, and those are not modifications that council should be making on an appeal basis to make a certain exception to get this use in. So having said that, I think that when language is not necessarily clear or could be clearer as council might like it, then what staff does is go to the intent of the statute. And the intent of the statute on intensification of uses is to provide adequate parking. And does our code define what adequate parking does? It absolutely does, without a doubt. If council doesn't like that, send it back to staff, unrelated to this appeal, and we can change it however you want to change it. But those are 2 separate issues, and modification of the ordinance is not really on the agenda tonight. You can send it back to us. We can bring you back with options. So I'd encourage council to limit its focus, as difficult as it may be, or not difficult, but limit its focus on what we have currently in the statute. My legal analysis supports staff's analysis that the only way we have to go to on a definition of adequate parking is our parking restrictions.
Jim?
Yeah, that point right there in 1720.070 is where I think we're, you know, the parking requirement for two parking spaces are required, and it has that. If we're talking about just the property, what the property was in the past or is or wasn't, doesn't change that. What it's going to be is a short-term rental that's required by our ordinance that is legal as of today, that it's okay, that it meets that requirement. Whether we don't want to fix that in the future, that's something we'll have to fix. I understand Stephen, your points as far as and everyone's points as far as finding homes for people to live and keeping our professionals here. But at the same time, after looking at this property and seeing in the past, I see improvement happening, which I think in a neighborhood is a nice thing. I see investment happening, which I think is a nice thing. Anytime you see investment happening in a neighborhood and improvement, it's going to raise property values throughout the neighborhood and increase the beautification of our city. So it's kind of a gray area. I understand lots of points as far as, you know, we want to control our housing market and our housing stock, but at the same time, as the law stands right now, I don't see this being in the wrong. I think I'd have to go with, you know, she met the requirements required. Whether or not that affects the other two units or primary residence and all that other stuff, it doesn't affect this component right here, what we're talking about tonight, parking. So that's my thoughts.
There's absolutely no denying that the properties have been improved, and that's definitely a good thing. I want to make sure of that.
So
Karen?
Dean, can I ask a question? So because the denying only had to do with parking, we can only make our decision on that aspect of this appeal. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the planning assistant planning director made her determination not to process the application based upon the language of the code that says no permit shall be granted if the following requirements are not met. You know, I'm not saying that there could not be another process, although, you know, we might be making stuff up here. If this applicant thinks that this is something unique, that she might want to go to the planning commission and ask for, you know, a certain variance from these requirements, possibly we could toll this appeal or stay the appeal and she could try that out. But that's a non-refundable application. I would also say that staff would recommend that the planning commission not do that under the same guise that I just gave to this council, which is we don't need to be going case by case unless it's a unique property design environment, you know, that's subject to a variance application. I don't want to suggest we just start sending people to the planning commission because it wastes the applicant's time as well. And it puts the planning commission in a weird spot. And then you just have another appeal from the planning commission's decision as opposed to an appeal from the planning director's decision. So really, I think that the focus here needs to be, or should be, on its very face. How is adequate parking defined? Are those parking spaces there or not there? That should be the basis for this appeal. And if council's uncomfortable with that end result, then tell us to go change the ordinance.
Well, I have to say I agree with Stephen. I realize that there might be, to some, 2 parking spaces there by the second building, but I've been by there a couple of times in the last week, and there have been trucks blocking the alleyway and a whole bunch of other things going on. So I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to deny the appeal.
I'll second that.
I don't know, sorry, Mr. Mayor, did we call for public comment on the item B? Sorry, I know you did on item A, but if I might have missed it.
We can call it. Any public comment?
There is no public comment in our public comment email, and I do not see any raised hands. Jenny, can you confirm?
There are no raised hands.
Okay,
So
Robin.
how many parking spaces are you saying I need for a 2-bedroom?
We're not. It's effectively for the property that you have as your primary residence, the code states there needs to be 2 slots per, the code as it currently is, says we need 2 per residence or 2 per domicile.
Dwelling unit.
Dwelling units.
But it doesn't say that in the short-term ordinance.
The short-term ordinance refers to other ordinances that the city has. The short-term ordinance also doesn't say that you can violate the noise ordinance that the city has or other ordinances that are in the books.
So there's nothing that references a multifamily property as short-term rental, because the way the ordinance, as I keep saying, reads, it's just adequate parking for the short-term rental, not the rest of the property. And so
your public comment?
Yes, we are working on construction, and we've been unloading materials, and we've had, vehicles in the alley, unloading and things like that, lumber and things like that. But there's plenty of parking for that one unit. I mean, there's 2 parking spaces and there's 2 bedrooms. So if we're unloading trucks in the alley during the day while we're working, it really has nothing to do with parking for people that live there. And I think that the ordinance is missing some critical, areas that need to be addressed. But the way it is written now, which is part of my appeal, is that it just requires an adequate parking for that short-term rental.
So let me just summarize, and maybe Ms. Kabbalah has some further thoughts on this, but the foundational facts that the council has right now, everybody knows what the parking spaces are that are required there. The statute does reference an intensification of any use. The granting of a short-term rental would be legally qualified as intensification of that use. And frankly, under most short-term ordinances, the primary concern of intensification of uses associated with short-term rentals is parking. So I don't think that the staff is too far outside of the realm of what was the intent of this, the fact that we've got a reference to adequate parking, and the only reference that staff has to go to define what adequate parking is are the parking requirements citywide by dwelling unit. Again, we can agree to disagree in terms of what the statute has, does not have. I give the applicant credit in the sense of there is some frustration with that language, but the council legally then is required to go to what is the intent of this statute and go to the only tools that it has to define what that adequacy is, make a decision on this appeal. And if the ordinance is modified, then perhaps another application can be submitted at that time.
Okay. Elaine, did you have
I
something
would
to add?
add that I do not consider the short-term rental ordinance to supersede the development standards in the zoning code.
Agreed.
Okay, Robin,
So
we
how
have a
many-
motion and a second.
One more question. How many parking spaces then are required?
This is public comment. You may issue a comment. This isn't meant to be clarifying question hour. I don't know how best to put that. So what is your public comment?
I want to know how many parking spaces then are required on the studios.
I don't think that's relevant to
Well, but you're saying I don't have adequate on parking for
we
the
haven't
property.
said anything. We have a motion and a second. And so we have invited you for public comment. And with our public comment is we are giving you a chance to say your case, but this isn't meant to be a discussion on how
Laura?
to improve or not your application.
Laura, I believe that it says what the municipal code says in your letter of denial.
So it says that I have to have 2 parking spaces per unit. Well, I don't have that. So does that mean I cannot rent these units?
Not if you're changing its use.
So, or rephrased, so long as you're not changing its use, right? So, and again, I think we're getting a little bit outside of the bounds of, and Ms. Gleason, I don't know you, but if you have questions about what is currently your parking requirements, I'm sure Elaine, Ms. Kabbalah can walk through those with you. Right now, where council is presented with an intensification, a changed use, an application for a change of use of that property. A decision was made based upon the parking requirements for that change of use. If that is denied here, then my presumption is, and Ms. Kabbalah can correct me if I'm wrong, is that your parking requirements would not change without an intensification of use or a change of the building or a larger imprint, et cetera, et cetera. So with that, I'll leave it back or take it back to the mayor.
Okay, so even
Okay,
though
Robin, we have a motion and a second. Call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Kong,
Yes.
Councilmember Ellis,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Schwartz,
No.
Mayor Mahovey.
Yes,
It's a 2-2 vote.
the current decision stands.
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Gleason, and for all the improvements you've definitely have been doing down there. And we do hope long-term rentals would be absolutely no problem. We wouldn't be having this discussion at all. Moving on to new business. Approve fiscal year 2021-2022 budget. Council consideration to approve and adopt the proposed fiscal year 21-22 budget. And this is going to Jenny.
Hi, everyone. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Let me share my screen. Okay. Annually, the City Council conducts workshops with city administration and fiscal staff to review and discuss the upcoming fiscal year budget. The proposed budget is the result of significant collaboration between the city's financial team and its respective departments. Analysts and discussion of the proposed budget took place at the budget workshop held on May 5th and June 14th. Please see the attachments under the separate cover, and we're recommending the City Council to adopt the proposed 21-22 budget.
Okay, so we have definitely gone through a couple of budget workshops with regards to this. And I think we identified a lot of our priorities for the next year. Jenny, do you think there are any highlights that you might be thinking of what we're aiming for in the coming year?
Our general fund revenue will be approximately $10,144,000, with the current general revenue expenses at $9.4 million. So we will have overage in revenues. So we will definitely be looking at the unfunded liability and how to proceed in the next few months. And we'll be using that balance for that.
Yeah, and I want to highlight to everybody that this budget that we're passing, it is definitely in the black. We are in a sound fiscal state, and even so we are, and even so we're able to improve and expand the services that the city is currently offering in the next year. We're getting a fire inspector. We're getting a few more police officers, investment in public works to start an infrastructure and pavement refurbishment fund, and also we're going to be tackling the big elephant in the room, which is our unfunded liability to CalPERS that we've for the most part inherited as we're carrying through. Any comments or questions from the council?
Good budget. Nice work.
Thank you.
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, welcome back.
Thank you. Yes, our current budget or the budget presented to us tonight, it's in the black. However, I would like to comment on the fact that 74% of our budget is based on taxes, property taxes, transient occupancy taxes, and sale taxes. And on page 9 of the budget, it says to meet the current and future service requirements of the city in a financially sustainable manner, efforts will need to be taken to enhance these key revenue sources. I think it's true, but I do think that we need to make a lot of efforts to spend these revenues in a financially responsible manner. We all want to provide more services. As a resident, I would like to see the city doing more services, and as a council member as well. I believe our city staff is doing an amazing job, each one of them in their own departments, in everything they're doing. However, we need to, I'm not saying that we need to do more. What I'm saying is that we need to do it in a financially responsible manner. And we need to save on every area that we can, because if we were asked to pay our unfunded liability in the next 12 months, we don't have the resources to do that. The city will have to file bankruptcy if we had to do that. So we need to improve in every way in our revenues and in our expenses. So just like everyone, city staff to think about that, especially department heads. You guys are the leaders, and you guys have pretty much control of what your departments are spending these revenue sources.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And the other thing that I would add on to that is, I mean, of course, it's a hard question, but I guess one of the question, but looking at also diversifying where that revenue comes from. And of course, a lot of cities have industries that go in there. And of course, our town is limited in size. I don't know exactly what kind of industry we could be attracting, but yeah, that's definitely a good point.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
I just wanted to say how pleased I was with how hard the department heads and their staffs worked on these. You know, we had asked them for a 5-year budget first, and then they had to turn right around and do a actual fiscal year budget for this next upcoming fiscal year. So I appreciate the long range thinking as well as the short term. So thank you.
Do we have any comments from the public?
There are no public comments on the public comment email, and I do not see any raised hands. Jenny, can you confirm?
Let me check. I see no raised hands.
Thank you.
Okay, are we ready to do this?
Motion to adopt the proposed 2021-2022 city budget.
Second that.
All right, Robin, we have a motion and a second. Call for the vote.
Councilmember Kong,
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia,
Yes.
Councilmember Ellis,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Schwartz,
Yes.
Mayor Mahovey.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you,
Hey,
everyone.
Thanks, Jenny. Thanks, and thanks to all the department heads for all their hard work, for sure. Moving on to our last item in new business, the annual League of California Cities Conference designation of voting delegate and alternate. This is going to, who's this going to? Ron's in a car.
I'll take it.
Okay, Robin.
Thanks. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This year's League of California Cities Annual Conference is scheduled for September 22nd through the 24th in Sacramento. Each year, at least one council member is appointed to attend the annual conference, and usually that's the current mayor. Each year, council is required to take action to designate one voting delegate and up to 2 alternates in case the voting delegate is unable to attend that meeting. And they're there to vote on the annual business meeting, which will be held on Friday, September 24th. Due to the high number of attendees at this conference, it is important to designate one voting delegate and up to 2 alternates as soon as the conference information is made available. This allows the city to take advantage of the lower registration costs and the reduced hotel room rates that are made available to the attendees. Once the city designates its voting delegate and alternates, they will attend the annual business meeting to vote on behalf of the city on the League of California Cities proposed resolutions. These resolutions will be made available at a future council meeting sometime in the fall, where the council will provide the city's voting delegate and alternates with direction. Budget impacts based on the proposed 2021 League of California Cities annual conference information. The cost to attend the League of California Cities runs approximately $2,000 per council member to attend. The city attorney has reviewed this item and finds that the recommended action complies with the law. Unless council has any questions for me, staff recommends that council appoint the voting delegate and up to 2 alternates for the League of California Cities annual conference in September.
Okay, Robin, thanks for that. So I mean, historically, we've had the mayor go, and who else? Just anybody else that wants to?
Yeah, at least 2 others, and as many as 2 other alternates. Some in the very early days, I know that all the council members would go, along with some of the staff members. And I think we were trying to cut back on costs, and so we would only send 1 and maybe 1 alternate. And I know in the past we've had at least 3 council members go in the past, and some staff as well. So up to council what they would like to do.
So who's considering going from
Karen
the council?
Kahn.
Karen Kahn.
I would like to go.
Jose.
Yeah, Stephen, it's a tough one. I go a lot. I've been to a lot of these. I know being the vice president of the Desert Mountain League, I'd like to go to solidify that. We have been hurting for public meeting in-person meetings, and we actually have a lunch schedule with our league and another league. For that component, I would like to go. I think this is, for Karen and Jose to want to go too. You've been, Stephen, before. It's a great time to learn, to get new ideas, and meet other thoughts and ideas and people and cities, and the networking is worth it. So that's my reason for going, is probably multifold, but I understand, I've been before, but I do want to for that purpose. But if I have to do something separate, I will.
If we want to send 3 council members, I can wait and go next year. So Jim can go.
As can I. So
I think it's an investment that, yes, would it cost some money? I think we're in the black. I know we're going through budgets and stuff, but there is an investment to it in a time for the education, the experience, the ideas, which is there's going to be a lot of new ideas coming out in 2021. I think it might be an opportunity to put us ahead. It's an expense, but yes, is it worth it? I think there's a return on it.
Karen Schwartz, what are your
I don't
thoughts?
need to go.
Okay.
She's almost there right now.
Wait, your mic went out for a second.
Oh, I don't need to go. I could definitely defer to Karen and Jose and Jim going. I think 2 is probably appropriate for the city given the size of our budget, but I don't need to go.
And Stephen, I don't think there needs to be more than 2 or 3 of us. So I would be happy to bow out and go next year, whichever.
Me too. So ladies first. So Karen, you can go first.
I mean, I'm happy to go. I would actually be able to, since it is 3 months or 2 months down the line, I could actually get the required time off from work. And I guess historically we have had the mayor go and be the voting delegate, right? And then I'd be okay doing that. And then we want 2 alternates.
Yes.
And I mean, to be clear, this isn't, I mean, in practice, I mean, since the costs are roughly $2,000, we could all 4 go. The only decision we need to make right now is who would be the voting delegate and the 2 alternates in case the voting delegate doesn't have to go. And so what's the deadline for actually determining who's going, Robin?
I would like to get this done because I would like to make the reservations. In order to make the reservations, I have to have you registered for the conference. Okay. So that's how they get you. and the sooner we do it, the better, because those rooms are going fast, the discounted rooms.
Oh, they're already open right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do we want to do?
Well, Stephen, do you want to go and be the voting delegate?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. And then do we have to decide who else goes right now, or we just need to decide on the voting delegate?
I think just the voting delegates and the alternates.
Do we have to decide on the alternates now, or just the voting delegate? Because we could decide later, right, if we want.
I do need to fill out the form and send it to them, but I don't remember what time it is. And then I'll be doing everything and signing people up. So.
Councilmember Schwartz, I think that the primary focus here should be just on getting voting delegates made. You can list alternates. Those can be changed at any time. We can change the form. Council members can indicate who wants to go. Let Ron make a decision administratively and work with you individually on that. Reservations are reservations. We can make them, we can change them. So I think we've all heard who wants to go. Let Ron deal with that. Let's get the voting delegates in, and I think you're good to go.
Okay, here's how we're doing it, Robin. I got an idea. Stephen, you're voting delegate. Boom, done. Me, Karen, Jose are going to be alternates. And then we will address the rest in the near future.
Second that motion.
Send that note forward.
Can I have a vote?
Any public comment?
Do we have any public comment on this?
I don't think we have to have a vote, do we?
No, there
I
are
don't
no
think
public-
so.
There are
Do
no
we?
public
Required.
There are no public comments on the public comment email, and I do not see any raised hands. And it would be great to have a vote so I can sign off.
All right, Robin, we have a motion, a second.
Yeah.
We've never
Call for
had
the
a
vote.
vote. We've never done that before.
I'm gonna do it now. Okay, we have a motion by Ellis.
Ellis and a second by Schwartz.
Councilmember Khan,
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia,
Yes.
Councilmember Ellis,
Sure.
Mayor Pro Tem Schwartz,
Yes.
Mayor Mahovey.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
All right, let's move on to future agenda items. Jim, let's start with you.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Jose, you're next.
I don't have anything. Thank you.
Okay, Karen Kong,
Nothing for me.
Karen Schwartz. Okay, and then we definitely want to, the only item I have is, I think we've already discussed it. We would like to revisit some of the short-term rental ordinance. And now council and committee reports. Let's go same order. Jim.
Just quickly, I did an S meeting last Friday. If I missed something, Karen can scoop up the rest. We got awarded a grant for electric bus that Phil, our director, has been working on. We got the grant, and I believe Bishop Dial-A-Ride is going to be the first recipient for an all-electric bus. So it's going to be kind of the step forward into the future, and you'll be seeing that here in Bishop. Buses take time to build, but I assume that'll be in spring. And then I could probably pass on an email that Phil sent us, the board members. He's looking for some kind of input on where to go with the bus service, with the opening of the airport come December 16th. It's going to change the dynamic a little bit, and trying to kind of figure out where to go on the ESTA side. So council, if you have thoughts or ideas, pass them on to me or Karen, and we'll move them forward from there. And then the last part of the ESTA meeting, the bus capacities, in the past they were limited. That's been lifted. The masking part has not, because they are a transportation controlled by transportation at the federal level. So airlines, trains, even local buses are still following those mandates, but capacity has not. And that's opening up the ability up in Reds Meadows and some of the different areas to actually move people around. So that's where I stand on my council committee.
Cool. Jose.
I attended the LTC meeting. We approved about 7 resolutions allocating funds for different projects throughout the county. And we have reports from ESTA, from Caltrans, from the City Bishop. It was a pretty long but important meeting.
Karen Kong.
So, like Destin reported earlier, we're supposed to be having an Owens Valley water, whatever they're called. I've just lost it. This week, but we put it off. Thank you. We put it off till the 22nd in order to make sure we have a quorum, and we should be getting at least bits and pieces of the report to read, and so that they can start getting community input on the report. So that's exciting. I attended a meeting with Larry Emerson and some county folks to talk about continuing to look for property for the veterans housing that they're looking at. And I also was invited to come to an INYO 350 meeting to talk about the safe parking, as well as some other homeless issues, and just to hear out what their concerns are. And their number one concern as far as city and county government is that we need to communicate better about stuff. So was happy to tell them that we that a few of you had a meeting to start that better communication. So they were very happy to hear that, and I probably will be trying to go as much as I can just to continue to hear the constituents' thoughts and feelings about what's going on in the city.
Cool. That segues into Karen Schwartz.
I want to report that Janet Hatfield was successful in receiving the Prop 1 grant funds for $3.3 million to develop environmental analysis capacity for ecosystem management projects here in the Eastern Sierra. That's really exciting. So that's through the SCOG. And then I attended a BAWA meeting, which Dustin reported on, and we approved the 21-22 budget. I attended a county city liaison meeting. And in it, we discussed a variety of issues. The main issue we talked about were joint solutions to add more housing stock within the city limits. And I attended a meeting with Stephen and Ron and the chief. It was about enterprise fleet management to discuss a company that helps promote cost savings approaches to work with our vehicle fleets and to save time and money managing them and dealing with them. And then Jim commented on everything that was covered in the ESTA meeting that I attended. And that is it.
Cool, yeah. Most of the meetings that I went to have been touched on. The one thing that I wanted to bring up with regards to the LTC was we are actively looking, the LTC actually has some funds in reserve that we are looking to allocate in the near future. And there are stipulations around how those funds can get allocated. And I'm advocating to increase the percentage that can go to bike projects. Because that is definitely something that we're all interested in here. As Karen mentioned, we did have a meeting with the chair and vice chair of the county, and touched on many different topics. And we definitely have been working together, and it's we have a strong relation with the county now, and we're working on a few other projects together. And yeah, the other one was the Bishop Area Wastewater Authority, where we approved our budget. So unless there are any other comments or questions from the council, I will adjourn this meeting at 7:48 p.m. and wish everybody a safe and fun 4th of July, because it feels like it's been many years since you got to just hang out with your loved ones, and there's a lot of that pent up energy. And so go out to the park or wherever you are and be safe and have fun. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.